So Jono Breeden it's going to be, who comes across to the near side. The centre court pass is going to be for Kim Ravalion, the 23-year-old centre court player. The Proteas versus Australia, just about to get underway at the ICC in Durban. Thanks for all the international viewers for joining us this afternoon, all those viewers on the World of Champions Supersport as well. And Simeon Daka, my partner upstairs, former international for the South African Spa Proteas and former captain of the Spa Fast 5 netball side as well. So a little bit of hesitation, and the atmosphere getting really tense out in the middle of the court. The Proteas done such a great job against England in a losing cause. The Australians winning. They've gone 4 for 4. We're underway at the ICC in Durban. Sanzia Quad Series, the South African Spa Proteas against the Australian Diamonds. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for international netball. And unlike Saturday, just the one game in operation. A good grab there from Gretel Tippett. Australia open their account.
If Australia starts in the same tone that they did on Saturday, then Spa Proteas are really going to have to work hard in tonight's encounter. They had a solid start, and this certainly looks as if they're going in the same tune.
It's very interesting to see the changes that have come from Australia, changing both the wing attack and the goal attack. South Africa have changed their goal attack and the wing defense, as it's a mistake from the South African side, and you can hardly afford to make those sort of mistakes against the number one side in the world and hope to get away with it. South Africa losing by 25 goals when they met in round one of this competition, and here is another opportunity for the Australian Diamonds. Thwaites on 499 goals, make that 500. Congratulations to KYTO Thwaites.
Oh, that's excellent performance by the diamond shooter. And you know, she really stood her ground on Saturday, and I think she's starting off with the same foot and good confidence. We're going to have a crack and a half of a game.
Yeah, I think we are, you know, and South Africa needn't get despondent about it, as there's a goal that comes in from Gretel Tippett as Australia go 3-0. If you'll remember on Saturday when South Africa played against England, even though South Africa lost that first quarter and were down by 11 goals at half-time, South Africa were actually leading 3-1. So if South Africa can grab a goal here and start to turn some possession around, then maybe they can turn the match around as well. Last touch there from Vanessa Benita-Toy. It's a bit of a nervy start, isn't it?
It is a nervous start, Kev, but if we look at the Australian defenders, you know, in my view, they're possibly the best defensive combination in the world, and this is how they rattled Maria Tutea as well as Bailey Mez, and I think they're doing the same to Dutoy and Lenise Borgita.
Erin Berger, good grab at the ball there by Gretel Tippett, who's just 23 years old. I can tell you that the average age of these two sides is pretty close to each other. South Africa, average age of 27 years old. The Australians, average age of 1 year less than that. Here's Carla Mostert, got a very tall Gretel Tippett in front of her. Tippett too close, according to Jono Breeden from New Zealand. And a bit of a launch there from Erin Berger towards Potgieter. It doesn't find its mark in South Africa. 2.5 minutes into the match, still haven't settled down.
Yeah, it's pressure coming from all corners, Kev, on this court. It's very tough coming up against the Australian Diamonds, but we had a chance to speak to Norma Plummer earlier on, and she said, you know, if the Spa Proteas stick to their game plan, play exactly what they've been practicing over the weekend, then it should be an easier encounter.
Just a lovely little feed inside there from Caitlin Nevins to Gretel Tippett, and Australia have gone 4-0. They've broken the South African centre pass on 2 occasions so far. Little tip over the top there from Caitlin Nevins. Lovely little launch inside from Kim Ravalion as well. And that will bounce around a little bit, but Caitlin Thwaites will make no mistake. Australia 5-0. Exactly the sort of start that Lisa Alexander wanted. Let's talk about the coaches just for a moment, because Lisa Alexander took over from Norma Plummer in the Australian coaching camp, and here they meet each other on South African soil.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I think Lisa Alexander must have taken, you know, all the tips and the tactics, and I'm sure they sat there and they analysed each other. But if we look at both sides, you know, I still believe that Australia competition is all different. You know, if you look at how their netball is, the support, the investment that goes through the Australian netball, and I think that's something that South Africa can learn from and try to expand on.
I'm sure there's challenges that both countries have in the development of the netball game. South Africa certainly has some challenges that they're overcoming by the moment, and it's nice to see that South Africa have scored their first goal eventually. Vanessa Marie Toy getting her first goal in her first appearance for South Africa at the Tanzania Quad Series. And now South Africa have also got the possession, so they trail by 5 goals. Not the first time we've seen a ball going wayward to the South African goal shooters, but contact there from Shani Layton. She's the captain of the side, Shani Layton, a tremendous player, 188 tall, and born in Victoria, played from 2006 to 2009 at an under-21 international, and she's just completely fulfilling every task that asked of her at senior level as well. 29 years old. There's probably still one more World Cup in the legs of Shani Layton. Another easy feed into the circle though from Caitlin Nevins, and the goal shooter goal attack combination of Thwaites and Tippett making no errors whatsoever at the moment. It just looks as if they're converting those opportunities so easily, Simi.
Yeah, they certainly are, Kev. I think they're very dominant, you know, taking charge of their attacking play. And I mean, if you look at their counterparts, somewhat struggling on that center pass. And I think, you know, it's something that the players are going to have to do and just see what can they do differently to counter the defense of the Aussie Diamonds.
Vanessa Marie Toy with an opportunity. South Africa have their third goal of the encounter. They close the gap to within 4, but you know what's happened at the moment is that suddenly both of the sides are scoring with their own centre passes. And although Australia seem to be converting their opportunities a lot quicker as they cycle the ball with such a lot of fluidity, South Africa seem to be a little stop-start and jerky down the court, not quite finding their feet in the flow of the match. Shani Layton is very, very adventurous indeed coming down the court, and so for that matter April Brandley, but there was contact made by Kim Ravalion.
Yeah, Brandley read that ball so well, and I think it's something that the Spark Proteas are going to have to be cautious of. But what can't complain, we've got a lucky streak as we see Vanessa Marie battling it out there with Layton.
What a character. She's had her injury problems, she's played over in England, and as well as we have a look at some of the concerned faces from the South African camp. A miss from Vanessa Marie Toy. What a versatile player she is. She can play at the top of the court as a goal shooter, she can play at the back of the court as a goalkeeper, she's playing as a goal attack today to add the height to Lenise Potgieter. Nice grab in the centre of the court by the South African Spark Proteas, and they grab their 4th goal of the Tanzania Quad Series encounter. A nice grab by Erin Berger there, but lovely work done at the back by Yulene Rousseau. It's so nice to see Yulene Rousseau getting an opportunity to play. Born in Pretoria, but she plays for the Southern Stings down in Cape Town, and is a fast 5 South African international. Can play goal defence and wing defence, and really a terrific play. She's got a good netball brain about her. It's lovely to see her get an opportunity. With the greatest of passes from the South African captain, Bongi Nsomi. But what great play that from April Brandley.
Yeah, she is really having an excellent start in this quarter. What is interesting for me there, Kev, is Australia is at this stage the one team that makes use of bounce passes. We haven't seen a lot of that coming from other teams, but nonetheless, excellent offload from Bongi Nsomi.
A great shot, I must say, from the South African goal-to-goal attack combination. Caitlin Nevins looks completely motivated after making her debut off the bench against New Zealand. Only one bench player utilised, by the way, by Lisa Alexander against the Silver Ferns, the arch rival on Saturday, and that was Caitlin Nevins. She was happy to get a start of 29 years old. And Caitlin Nevins played very, very well when she came off the bench. In fact, Caitlin Nevins became the oldest Australian netballer to debut for the Diamonds in former Plummeted, by the way, the coach of South Africa, who was 30 years old in 1975. So there was a bit of history for Caitlin Nevins on Saturday.
A little bit of miscommunication there between Du Toit and Potgieter. And fortunately, South Africa will have the throw-in. It's very difficult there, Kevin. I think they're going to have to just keep recycling the ball and keeping it afloat until it safely lands into the shooter's hands, as it does.
Yeah, we spoke about that on Saturday as well, when South Africa were playing up against the England side and suggesting maybe they should recycle the ball a little more around the edge of the circle, which they only started to do once Izette Libba had come on, as well as Lindy Lombard. And I'll tell you what, the second half of that match was terrific. And South Africa driving well at the base of the court as well. to force the error from Australia. So far, the goal shooting percentages, well, tells a bit of a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, those are going to be concerning stats for the Spar Proteas. I mean, to be averaging around 56%. But again, it does speak to the fact that the Australian defenders are solid. They're sticking to the Spar Proteas, making things so difficult for them as far as attacking is concerned.
One of the things that Lise Alexander said they were working on in the training ground between Saturday and today is there's a bit of a bib that's come loose. I think it's from Vanessa Marie du Toit, the goal attack for South Africa. It breaks the momentum of the South Africans just momentarily. Erin Berger in possession. Vanessa Marie calling for it. Bongi Msomi, but there's a little bit of height and consistent height around the court for the Australian #1 side in the world, and might have been too close for Shani Layton, and both of the defenders out of play. And so these Spar Proteas can grab another goal. I must say there's not as many supporters here this afternoon, evening, as there were on Saturday, but it is a working day, I suppose. Perhaps about half the crowd that were here on Saturday, but still very vociferous indeed, and hoping that South Africa can cause something of an upset. Tippett goes for goal herself. It's woefully short, but nice reactions from Caitlin Thwaites. Gets the head of Phumza Maweni and fires in the 11th goal of the match for the Australian Diamonds.
Oh, look at the setup, Kev. All three defenders closing in on Mbongi Somi. She has to work tirelessly just to break through, but when she starts getting an advantage of them, then she starts becoming unstoppable.
Well, we spoke about that situation on Saturday when South Africa were playing against the English side. There's some good hands from Elise Potgieter, and one of the reasons potentially that Bongi Msomi was taken out of the game was because England had done their homework on her, and she was being not as effective as what the coach wanted to do. So she made the switch. I thought his delivery was amazing.
Yeah, and I think also, Kev, you know, the teams obviously know that Bongi Msomi is the engine of the Spar Proteas, so they've studied her moves. So it's always great to bring somebody else with a different flair and a different style of play, and I think that's exactly what Izette Libba did. I'd be not surprised if we'd see, you know, a repeat of that coming into tonight's encounter.
Not at all. Here's an opportunity for Caitlin Thwaites, and that is another break in the South African centre pass, the first that we've had for quite some while already. That's Australia leading over South Africa by double the margin that the South African Spar Proteas have been able to accumulate so far. Kim Revallion, that's a lovely ball inside, eludes Karla Mossad altogether, but there was contact on the edge of the circle by Erin Berger.
Yeah, Kev, if you look, I just want to make a point about the attacking side of the Australia. If you look at Revallion as well as Nevins, they've split each other evenly behind their defenders, their shooters, and that makes it easier for them to see the gaps of where to feed. If you look at the Spar Proteas, they've been forced to the edges. You can see Bongi playing right on the lines of the court, and again, another ball intercepted by the Aussie defenders.
Suddenly, you know, they're playing in bursts where they suddenly put a lot of pressure on the South African defence and come away with the ball as they have now. That's an easy goal. The recycling and the understanding of the Australian side is absolutely unbelievable. They lead by 14 goals to 6, and we're still another 2 3/4 minutes away from the end of the first quarter. But the back of the court, still hard work being done by the Maweni Karla Mossad combination. Mossad cross court to Vanessa Marie du Toit, who nearly overruns it. Here is Bongi Msomi, Erin Berger looking one way then the other. Msomi makes herself available. Now Berger to Vanessa Marie du Toit.
I think the Spar Proteas are doing well driving to the middle of the court. Danger zone is right on the edges, and they kind of need to stay away from there.
Well, it is nice to see that Bongi Msomi switched it up a little bit, and because she was being hemmed in on that touchline a little bit to the edge of the court on the far side. And that's one thing, if you're a clever player in the game of netball, and there's no doubt about the intelligence of all of the ladies on the court at the moment, that you can use your zone and the side of the court almost as another defender. See it done in football, and certainly it works in netball as well.
Oh, here's an opportunity for the Spar Proteas to get another goal.
South Africa pressurising. They could get back-to-back goals here and turn around that centre pass that they lost a few minutes ago, the very first time in the match, with that the South Africans had broken the centre pass of Australia. Now they look to do it again. But that's another fine pass coming from Kim Revallion.
Yeah, Revallion and Nevins, you know, they're doing a fantastic job. Revallion, a fantastic job on the attacking front, Kevin. I think that's something that Spark Proteas are going to have to look into, and how do they actually slow down Nevins on the attacking side? She's available for all the drives. Look at that, beautifully in the middle of the court.
The recycling, the positioning, the little switch plays from Australia, they're absolutely classy, and the contact by Phumzile.
Goalkeeper with her.
Really 12 turnovers in the match, 8-4 in favour of the Australians, who take another bite out of the South African defence and turn over some ball as well. Lead by 16 goals to 8 at the moment. Do the #1 side in the world, and suddenly Bongum Somi giving the wing defence a bit of a hard time.
Yeah, I wanted to say, there's a great sense of partnership and teamwork amongst the Spark Proteas. Deflection from Burger, picked up by Msomi. Fortunately, just can't close it off.
Yeah, a bit of frustration for Vanessa Toy there as well, lifting the ball into the defender's hand, and it's those little margins that we see the mistakes coming from the South African side that aren't being made by the Australian side. And I think all around the series, the Tanzania series, when you look at these series, when you look at the World Cups and that sort of thing, the difference between South Africa still have to try and close out matches where they don't make as many mistakes as the opposition. South Africa though scoring that goal, and we're just about at the end of the quarter. South Africa still looking to get into double figures, and there is the hooter for the end of the first 15 minutes of play. Dominant from the Australian #1 side in the world, 17 goals to 9. South Africa still looking to get into the double figure stage of the encounter, which they no doubt will do in quarter #2. But a very impressive performance from the Australians, 17 goals to 9. South Africa certainly have a lot to achieve before half-time, and really looking tremendously good as far as their approach to this match is concerned, leaving no stone unturned whatsoever, and really putting a lot of pressure on the South African defence right from the top of the court to the bottom. And it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen from both a South African and from a Australian point of view as far as the changes are concerned, because looking out on the court, looks like there's wholesale changes all over the place from both sets of coaches. That's really going to keep the administrators busy. Lindy Lombard is on for South Africa at goal attack, and Precious Mthembu at wing defence. So 2 changes off the bench, and I don't think they're bad ones either. Experiment not quite working as far as the goal attack was concerned with Vanessa Toy, but we might see her back in a goalkeeper role. Who knows how these things work. Immediately there's a chance for Lenise Potgieter. Potgieter will not only score the first goal of the second quarter, but also put South Africa into double figures as far as their score is concerned.
Yeah, that's great work from Lenise Potgieter. Oh, Erin Beggar's defensive skills tonight have been impeccable. But just to talk about those changes a little bit, Kev, I'm also not surprised to see Lindy Lombard come back as well as Precious Mthembu, because I felt those were the 2 areas that we were somewhat struggling in that first quarter. Nevins on the attacking side was really having a good run, being available and driving the midcourt of the Aussie side. So it'll be great to see how Precious Mthembu slows down her momentum.
So 1-1 in the second quarter of this match, a quarter that'll take us up to half-time. And yeah, it really is going to be interesting to see how the South Africans will settle down with the amount of changes that they've made. And Australians looking to attack a bit more, there's no doubt, and really put pressure on the South African team. Opportunity here for Lindy Lombard. Wasn't Lindy Lombard fantastic against England on Saturday? And she is a teammate at the same region, the same province as Lenise Potgieter, so that understanding will be great. And it pays dividends there with South Africa getting their second goal of the second quarter.
Oh, that's a good drive there by Nevins, and well contested by Karla Mostert.
Inside throw-in.
You can see there's a little bit of confusion, I think frustration rather, coming from the Spark Proteas defenders. They're struggling up against Thwaites and Tippett.
A chance for Tippett then. Ball's not going to quite roll over the front of the ring for the Australians, but a push from Phumzile, picked up by John O'Brien. And the Australians get a chance to level things in the second quarter at 2-2, but they still lead by that 8-goal cushion to the Australian Diamonds. Now Lindy Lombard looking for a bit of support, a bit of bunching in the centre of the court from the South Africans, but Erin Berger finds space, and she also finds Lenise Potgieter. There's some confident shooting out there from Potgieter.
That's excellent work there. I thought Lindy Lombard set it up so well, because she saw the space in where Erin Berger was running. She just lobbed it, and Great finish by Borgita.
Still though, this the Australian Diamonds who continue to recycle that ball down the court very, very impressively indeed. Their work rate is absolutely unstoppable. The way they get the ball down the court, there's no energy wasted. They don't bother with the play backs unless they're in a real strong predicament. They get the ball and they recycle it quick hands. Great understanding, and the pace of their netball is tremendous. I must say, I think the pace of the South African attack has improved a lot more, because the recycling of the ball in the second quarter is a lot more impressive than it was during the first from the South African camp. Now, a bit of a mistake then from South Africa.
Yeah, contact called against Wangim Somi, but to your point, Kev, I couldn't agree with you more. I definitely think that there is an uptick in terms of the attacking side of the Spar Proteas, and how great it is that both substitutions were easy to jump in and carry on with business as usual.
There are no changes to the Australian camp coming into the second quarter, and we've seen that quite a lot. In fact, we spoke about it yesterday, that Caitlin Nevins, coming on for her first cap at international level at 29 years old, was the only change that was utilised by Lise Alexander yesterday. We're probably going to see the same thing here today. Lise Borgita has arrived in Durban in no uncertain terms.
Oh, she certainly has. This is such an encouraging performance, and I think it's testament to what their coach Noma Plama said earlier on around the confidence, the spirit, and the positive, items and that the Spar Proteas take from their last game, and this is certainly a great demonstration from the Spar Proteas.
We haven't seen too many misses underneath the basket from the Thwaites-Tippett combination, and that was one, and then that's a great take. In fact, the best take from a South African player, Phumzile. Now, this isn't to the umpire. In fact, I think there's a bit of moisture on the court that he wants tidied up, is it?
Yeah, it is, Kev. He's just asked the floor managers just to come and sort it out as well. And I think also Karla Molstedt might have a little bit of a bruise, or could be a blood injury. I mean, we know the rules around that netball. They're very, very strict.
It's a straight swap for blood substitution.
So it is a blood substitution. So we're going to see probably Zanelvin Bella come on as a goal defense then.
Yeah, it's just to allow the physio of the Spar Proteas just to get a chance to strap Karla Molstedt, and I'm sure she'll take the court back on shortly.
An opportunity for Zanelvin Bella, who has played twice off the bench for South Africa during the course of the seasons. Both of those times is over down in New Zealand and Australia. Great little ball up the left-hand side of the court between Bongi Msomi and Lindy Lombard. The South Africans have got a bit of a bounce in their step.
Kevin, the crowd certainly appreciating that piece of play. This is entertaining netball.
Now there's been a break in the line as well from the Australians, so a little bit of pressure perhaps being exerted by the South African Spar Proteas. Good job from the South African Spar Proteas as well, and the sponsor Spar apparently renewing their contribution to South African netball over the next 4 years, so that's also very, very good news indeed. Contact made by Gabby Simpson.
Yeah, I actually saw her use her hands to try and get away from Bongi Msomi, and that is definitely not allowed in the game of netball. So great offload to Lise Borgita. That's 2 consecutive goals coming from the Spar Proteas, looking good in this quarter.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're looking more organised, they're looking calmer, they're getting the ball recycled a bit quicker. And that's a contact made by the wing defender. So the goal shooting percentage is on the up and up from South Africa as well. It was down in the 50s a little bit low in the first quarter, but now up to 80, which is a very, very good sign as far as the South African Spar Proteas are concerned. Still, there's a lot of work to be done. I think matters have stabilised. The patient has got their medication during the break from the South African team doctors, and I think there was a bit of stabilisation as far as the goals coming from the Australian camp are concerned. Good work done by Lindy Lombard.
Yeah, I thought there was a good call as well. Caught the Australian defenders unaware and make it count for South Africa.
Still a 5-goal cushion between the two sides. South Africa stabilising that situation. Forward here by Gabby Simpson. Now from Caitlin Nevins.
Well, Kev, I mean, South Africa is actually ahead in this quarter, because at the end of the first quarter they were down by 8 goals. And I mean, to close the margin, to, you know, only a 5 or 6 goal deficit really bodes well for the Spa Proteas. It certainly is a great quarter so far.
Two South African defenders out of play, as once again it's going to be Caitlin Thwaites. Takes too much time. Was it 3 seconds? No, the goal's been given by the umpire from New Zealand, John O'Brien. South Africa on centre pass. Again, there's a break in the line from the Australians. Twice now in the same area by the number 1 side in the world of netball. Oh, that's a lovely little one-handed bounce pass from Erin Berger. And a 3-second call, which seemed very, very short indeed.
Yeah, some of these things are always questionable, but we've got the best umpires and the best players coming and battling things out here at the Durban ICC. Certainly a spectacular performance from both teams.
Whole time. That's intentional wing defence, that's a caution.
Wing defence with a caution there. Precious Mthembu, she's only been on the court for around about 8 minutes and already picking up a caution from the umpire. Then John O'Brien from New Zealand has a chance for Tippett, and she misses one. I think the final touch might have come from Phumza Maweni, who gives a little bit of an eyeball to the New Zealand umpire.
Contact wing defence.
Contact again by Phumza Maweni. She's got to be careful of that situation. Through the legs of Tippett, nicely picked up at the back by Zanella Vimpela.
This is actually excellent performance coming from the Protea defenders, but unfortunately mishandling from Precious Mthembu.
Yes.
Valion. Again, contact made by Phumza Maweni. So, Caitlin Thwaites. The first goal of the match tonight was her 500th at international level. She's done a little better than that since then, but once again, Australia just starting to get underneath the skin of the Spa South African Proteas national netball side.
Oh, that's excellent work there, forcing a line-breaking error from the Aussie Diamonds.
Diamonds lead by 7. It's 3 times now in the centre court, which will be a little bit of concern, I think, for Lisa Alexander. To decide that to make very, very few mistakes on the international stage. What a wonderful bounce pass that from Erin Berger as well. Unfortunately, the shot doesn't quite match from Lenise Potgieter. Batted out of play by Lindy Lombard.
Time call, they just allow the ball to come back and play. I think every second is precious, as we saw in Saturday's encounter between England and the Spa Proteas.
Contact by Bongi and Somi, and down the court here to Greta Tippett. Oh, Tippett, a wonderful little work from her. She gets in behind these South African defenders, and both of goal defence, Vimpela and Precious Mthembu, caught a little bit watching the front of the circle where Caitlin Thwaites was showing some good form. And it still works for them. Now, that's a wonderful pass as well from Lindy Lombard.
I really think that the Spa Proteas, Kev, you know, they're making good space around the shooting circle and playing those long balls when they're on, because sometimes Leighton just drops ahead into the opportunity for the Spa Proteas.
Elise Potgieter probably has in the back of her mind that Lindy Lombard was blown for a 3-second call a bit earlier on as South Africa steal the ball back from the Australians once again. She seemed to rush her shot. When she picked the ball up to shoot, suddenly the ball came out of her hand. And instead of trying to grab it again, she tried to punch it towards a South African teammate. It was called as a handling error. But you can clearly see the South Africans needing to concentrate on there's a lot going out there psychologically on the court right now.
Yeah, there certainly is. We see Revalian called out of play. There's been a couple of those decisions made. It just really speaks to the intensity of this game.
25-17. It was a lot closer than that a few minutes ago, but suddenly we're back on an 8-goal lead for Australia. The second quarter's been dead even as far as the match is concerned, which is going to be, I think, even though there's been a lot of mistakes from South Africa, I think it'll still be a momentum-building one as the ball goes away past Gretel Tippett. Suddenly the match is starting to become a little fast and loose.
Yeah, it definitely is a little bit messy at this stage, Kev, but I think, you know, I'll give credit. The Spa Proteas also seem to have rattled their attacking side. So you can see that some of the calls and the play at the moment is pressured play. You know, it's pressured passes, pressured movements, late defend, but it really is the intensity of this game.
Lindy Lombard, quick hands, looking for Lenise Potgieter. Did the final touch come from her? No, it came from Shani Leighton. And a bit of contact from Leighton as well. Shows a bit of frustration. The psychological battle intensifies.
Oh, that's a great drive there coming from Nevins.
South Africa 9 in the first quarter, 9 in the second quarter so far as well, and really trying to drive home that situation. But Australia, as long as they keep their centre pass and score off that, and then they have no chance of really losing this encounter. It's well up to South Africa to grab this one by the scruff of the neck, as they are trying to do. They still trail by 8 though. Could be less than that after this Potgieter effort.
Yeah, that was a good piece of play coming from the Spa Proteas. Quick hands, good offload.
Over the top from Caitlin Nevins. Lovely to see the height of Gretel Tippett, because she actually drove that ball back towards Caitlin Thwaites. Again, contact made by the South African defenders in Phumza Maweni and Zanele Vimpela, and easy conversion for Gretel Tippett. 8 goals is the margin. 2.5 minutes to go before we get to half-time at the ICC in Durban. At least Potgieter looking for some support. Finds it in Erin Berger. That's a great little pass, because Shani Leighton was on the charge for the interception, almost like a wing defender.
Oh, this is such an encouraging piece of play, but unfortunately it doesn't count, Kev. That goal has been disallowed due to contact from Denise Potgieter.
She's had a bit of a rough time of it over the last couple of minutes, as far as trying to get the shots into the pocket. She had the one ball that she lost, taking the ball up towards her set for the shot, and now the contact made as well. Great work done at the back by Brandley for Australia. And then Erin Berger caught for contact as well.
Yeah, that's a bit questionable, Kev, because that came off the hands of the Australian defenders. I think it really just landed where Erin was standing, but nonetheless, the Spa Proteas will still continue their tireless efforts and stay in this game.
You heard the reaction from the support here, as there's a wonderful shot that's been converted by Caitlin Thwaites.
We don't need that after the shot. That's a caution.
So a caution there for Phumza Maweni. Something happened after the shot, maybe a bit of intimidation coming through from the South African, and another centre pass that's gone awry, and Australians have a chance to lead by 10. The shot falls by Caitlin Thwaites. Obstruction advantage played by the umpires, and suddenly South Africa just losing the plot a little, as we now just a minute and 20 seconds away from half-time in Durban. It's a brave performance, but this Australian side just continue to run. They keep their formations. They've got absolute faith and trust in each other. And South Africa, although they pull one back and getting to the 20-goal mark, they still trail by 9 with less than a minute to go before half-time.
Yeah, Kevin, I think Aussies are probably the most balanced team we've seen out of this quad series. Solid defenders, but their shooters, really great understanding of each other, making use of their space. It's excellent to see Tippett as well as Thwaites on. Great pickup there by Revalian.
I thought that Zanele Vimpela was a little bit unlucky. In fact, it was Phumza Maweni to get the ball back into play, and eventually it went to the Australians, who are up to 30 and lead by 10. Don't forget, when they played in Australia beat South Africa by 25 goals. If they get to halftime leading by 10, then I think that's still an improvement from the halftime score down under, and South Africa tossing the ball off the court on that occasion through a bit of enthusiasm. And the Australians will want to try and recycle this with only a couple of seconds remaining before we get to half-time, and see if they can make the situation even worse. Don't forget, that's a fabulous shot from Caitlin Thwaites, that England led over South Africa by 11 goals at half-time. It's going to be the same situation for Australia, 31-20. But don't forget, in the South Africa-England game, there was also an 11-goal difference. It was 30 goals. It was a little bit more than that. It was 28 goals to 17 for England over Proteas, but exactly the same sort of situation. We all know what happened in the second half of that match between the Proteas and England. So while the performance was a little better from the Proteas, and they scored 11 goals, which is 2 goals more than they did in the first quarter, there's still a lot of work to be done. And one waits to see whether Norma Plummer will make those sort of changes as she takes the ladies into the dressing room for half-time. Australians haven't made a change yet in the match. They're looking fluid, although sometimes during the course of the quarter there did seem to be a couple of psychological lapses now and again from the Australians. It's an 11-goal cushion for Australia. It's half-time in Durban.
Well, Well, it is half-time here in the game between Australia and the Spa Proteas. There's the Aussies that take an 11-goal lead going into half-time, joined now by the goal shooter was largely responsible for those goals going in. He had a game plan coming into this game. Would you say it's going according to plan so far?
I think, look, they're making us work really, really hard for this. So we're definitely trying to just keep a bit more calm and controlled in the attack end. I think that's something that we can work on because the D is doing a really good job of making us a little bit frazzled.
Yeah, and it is getting a bit frustrating in that shooting circle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're trying to deal with it pretty well, but when there's so much, so many hands and there's a lot of body going around, and yeah, we're trying to deal with that as best as possible.
Well, thank you for your time. Join your team.
Thank you.
There's the goal shooter from the Aussie Diamonds, largely responsible for those goals being sunk in there. But it is the Spa Proteas that have all the work to do. And Bongi Wimsomi, the captain, joins me now. Got a bit of work for you to do in the second half.
We definitely have to work hard. We knew before we even came here that this is not going to be a joke. But yeah, I'm certain the girls are doing well. We came to the quad series knowing exactly that it's going to be hard for us. But yeah, I think so far against England, again now the girls are really pushing hard. For us, what's mostly important is the best performance of the team. I think it's going well so far.
All the best. Thanks, Bongi.
Thank you so much.
It was always going to be a tough match for the South African Spa Proteas, ranked 5th in the world when they took on the #1 Diamonds of Australia in this Sanzia Quad Series match right here at the ICC in Durban. And so it proved to be the opening quarter. South Africa losing that by 17 goals to 9 as the Australians came out hot, and they really put the South African defence under enormous amount of pressure. And Caitlin Thwaites picking up her 500th international goal with her first shot of this encounter. Gretel Tippett with her at the top of the court, the tallest player on the court from both sides, doing a great job in that combination. But it was the centre of the court too, from Caitlin Nevins and Kim Ravalion, that were really driving the ball up and down the court. The transitions were picked from the Australians. They were putting the defence of the South Africans under enormous amount of pressure. And South Africa lost the first quarter by 17 goals to 9. Come to the second quarter, Norma Plummer waited until half-time on Saturday against the English. She made the changes earlier today. She brought on Limby Lombard in the place of Vanessa Toy. She also brought on Precious Mthembu in the place of Yulin Rousseau. And immediately you could see a bit of the difference of the ball being recycled quickly. The understanding between Lindy Lombard and Elise Potgieter playing in the same province, the same region, was there for all to see. And South Africa actually did much better in the second quarter. Yes, they lost the second quarter, and they trailed by 11 goals at half-time. But they only lost the second quarter by 14 goals to 11, which is only 3 goals, having lost the first by 8 goals. So massive improvement from the South Africans. I think there's still room for improvement. Wait to see if Carla Morsot is going to make a return to the court after picking up a blood injury. Zanella Vimbela had come on in her place and really seemed to struggle a little. So an improved performance in the second quarter for South Africa. Still lots of work to be done though. Only 77% goal percentage average for South Africa and a 62% pass completion rate. The Australians really, really looking good out in the middle of the court though. If you look at the goal shooters though, the comparison, Caitlin Thwaites at 94%. That's very, very impressive indeed. Only 1 miss for her in the entire game so far. But 89% from Potgieter is a big improvement. Substitutions then for both sides, or substitute candidates. Izette Libber potentially could come off the bench. Renske Stoltz as well. Carla Morsot could make a comeback. And from the Australian side, Bruce Hadley, Pettit and Weston. The South African Spa Proteas trailing Australia, Diamonds #1 in the world, by 11 goals at half-time. Let's put that into context. South Africa were trailing against England on Saturday by 11 goals at half-time as well. They ended up after an hour's netball at 48 all. Let me tell you another thing about that match on Saturday, is that South Africa had scored 17 goals in the first half. Today, against the #1 side in the world, they've scored 20. Yes, they might have conceded 28 only against England and conceded 31 against the Australian side, but the Australians, bigger part, the Proteas, have scored 3 more goals against the number 1 side in the world than they did on England on Saturday in that first encounter on South African soil in the Sansia Quad Series. I think there's a lot to be positive about as far as the South African netball performance is concerned. The second half of this encounter starts. Australian Diamonds leading by 11 goals, 31 to 20 at half-time. And the South African Spa Proteas will be looking to get into some sort of mood in the second half that they were against the English when they played. Immediately though, it's Tippett to Thwaites. Obstruction from Zanella Vimbele, who keeps her place in the place of Karla Morsed, who went off with a blood injury. I would hope that's not too serious, because Karla Morsed on the bench then for South Africa, as is Jolene Rousseau and Vanessa Maruta Toy. And South Africa now trying to launch their bid for the second half, or their first measure of attack. And that falls flat with Bongiam Somi conceding possession down the right-hand side. With great work there by Lindy Lombard, almost getting the interception from a goal attack point of view, showing that South Africa can defend from the top of the court.
Yeah, that's very encouraging indeed, and that's exactly what you want to get from your side. But equally encouraging is the attacking front of the Australian Diamonds, how they've started this quarter, Kev. There seems to be much more urgency, a lot of energy, and I think much more control if you compare to the down stages of the second quarter. So 2 goals for the Aussie Diamonds in this quarter.
And more importantly, though, they've broken a South African centre pass, and they're doing exactly what they did in the first quarter, but they won by 17 goals to 9. And that's go 3 goals without reply from the South African side, and that doesn't bode well for the South African fight back. But a fight back there will be undoubtedly from the South African Spa Proteas side. Berger with a rather risky little angle ball there, but it's a beautifully read by Lenise Potgieter, and she drills it in to the top of the net for South Africa's first effort of the second half of this match.
Certainly, if it's on plate, and I think Erin Berger's got great vision for the shooters in the circle.
Great to see just exactly how that perpetuates as the Australians, once again, we've seen that so often during the course of this match, and understandably so, being the wonderful number 1 side that they are in the world, the recycling and the non-wasting of passes down the court from Australia is absolutely bewildering to watch. South Africa grabbed the ball back through Bongi and Somi after having lost their own ball earlier on, but right from the top of the court, look at the marking from Australia. Gabby Simpson a bit over-enthusiastic potentially on that occasion. Here's Bongi and Somi kicking it out with Lindy Lombard. Lombard with her one-handed approach to it, eventually gets the ball to drop at the second time of asking, and South Africa have their second goal of the second half. They are being put under pressure from this resurgent looking Australia side, because Australia unchanged through the whole match so far. They've come out to the second half. They look like a side that's just come out in the beginning of the match, and they're playing almost as if they did in the first quarter.
Yeah, and I think that's very good, you know, coming from Lisa Alexander, because no coach would be happy or pleased with how that second quarter ended. So it seems as if, you know, they've had their words and they're taking on the second half of this game in the same Aussie style that we expect to see.
And this will be pretty close to a 3-second call from John O'Brien, but yeah, so the South African Spa Proteas won't want to lose on home soil by a 25-goal margin, as they did in the very first match of the Sansia Quad Series when they met Australia down under. And a miss there from Lindy Lombard, immediately turns to the defence as it's cleared away by Shani Layton. Now Brandley, straight down the left-hand side of the court from Australia. Now switch play coming from the Diamonds. And good hands in there. Was it from Pumza Maweni, or was there contact? Potentially the latter.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah, what makes it different or difficult to steal the ball from the Aussie Diamonds, the fact that they grab the ball with both hands and they release with both hands. So it's always controlled, but excellent rebound coming from Pumza Maweni.
Another gave it away there. Pumza Maweni almost to throw himself inside out to get that pass away to Zanella Vimbele. They managed to get it away eventually. There's Lindy Lombard coming to provide a little bit of an attack. That's a massive bounce pass in the middle of the court from the goal defence. Zanella Vimbele, who continues to keep Karla Morsed on the bench. Goal defence working hard here. Shani Layton, Bongiam Somi. There's contact made by April Brandley. Bounce pass is being utilised quite a lot more here by the South African Spa Proteas in the second half of the game, and it is Lindy Lombard who grabs South Africa's 3rd goal of the second half of the encounter. Still South Africa trailing by quite some margin.
Contact, wing attack.
Our Spot Proteas doing well here to try and close in Ravalion and Nevins as they are critical to the attacking side. That's a second goal that's been missed, a shot by the Aussie Diamonds.
It looks like there was a bit of lost balance by the South African defenders, and hence the throw-in from Australia. And South Africa, I think, in defence, doing a great job. Both Zanele Vimpela and Phumza Moreni just keeping the Australian Diamonds shooters, Thwaites and Tippett, away from the circle when the ball's been played in from the back of the court as well. I thought that was pretty good defending, and even though the Diamonds managed to convert the goal at the end of the day, it took them a lot longer to get that ball in to the net. 14-goal difference at the moment. We're still nearly 10 minutes away from the end of the third quarter, and Australia on fire here in South Africa. Berger with a rather lifty ball, and Potgieter with a contact forward by Shani Layton. Go the cautious route and bring on Vanessa Toy, because she's got a player that potentially can be suspended for 2 minutes.
I doubt, you know, that would be the call to make here. I'd rather keep Phumza Moreni. I think she's rattled Thwaites as well as Tippett. I haven't seen the Australian shooters struggle as much as they have been. So I would take my chances and keep her on court.
Short from Lindy Lombard. There's a grab from Msomi. South Africa with a bit of space through the middle. And the South African captain will find that with ease. And Potgieter turns away as soon as the delivery comes from her, as the South African Spar Proteas grab their fourth goal of the second half of their match. Kim Ravalion. It's almost basketball style now from Gripple Tippett.
This is amazing netball and defensive play from the Spar Proteas. Another ball turned from the Aussie Diamonds. I really think that the pressure is mounting in that defensive circle.
South Africa using bounce passes all over the court at the moment. We've seen some through the centre court. We saw they one at the back of the court. We've seen some inside the attacking circle as well. Bongi Msomi is starting to control things a little from her wing attack point of view as well. And she's not being picked up as much as she was during the first quarter, where she was isolated quite a lot, and the Australians did a great job on the South African captain. There's an offside from Kim Ravalion.
Yeah, Bongi has also changed the game slightly, Kev. I think she's opened up the court, you know, to allow other players to participate in play, and because of that, it makes her such a great option for her teammates.
South Africa having to use the edge of the circle, and something that we've picked up on that South Africa needs to improve upon, which they do. April Brandley with the contact there. Lombard and holding from Layton. Will pop in from Potgieter. South Africa continue to apply pressure. In fact, they've broken the centre pass of the Australians for the first time in the second half of this encounter.
Too many breakings, that's a caution.
Well, that is 4 breakings of the line in the match so far, and well picked up by John O'Brien.
Ring defence, hold, outside.
Oh, there's a lot of contact as well coming from Simpson. I just think, you know, the defenders are trying to stay in there. Excellent close off by Lindy Lombard.
2 for 2 for South Africa, 2 for 2 for Lindy Lombard as well. Thwaites gets herself almost into position of a floating shooter, almost like a Gretel Tippett would have been, or wing attacking Caitlin Nevins. The South African defence working hard again. Contact by Zanele Vimpela. Basketball style from Tippett, and Australia score another.
She actually does that quite a lot, Kev. I think that's probably her, you know, the one advantage that she has, that she can take those running shots securely and makes it count for her side.
Thank you.
Being the tallest girl on the court, I suppose that helps matters as well.
Causing wing
Lombard. In defence is Gabby Simpson for the Australian side. So Erin Berger once again looking for an opportunity. Lenise Potgieter goes for the follow-up. It wasn't required at the end of the day. Look at the concentration on the face of the 22-year-old South African goal shooter. And South Africa now within 11 again of the Australians, which means that the third quarter so far is dead even. Maybe not for long, because Thwaites has been properly on form in this match so far, and rolls another one over the front of the ring to get the Australian Diamonds to within 1 point of the 40-goal mark in this encounter. There's the attempt and a shot by both the South Africans and the Australians in the match so far, with 5.5 minutes remaining before we get to the end of the third quarter. So 20 minutes remaining in the game. Nice hands there from Berger. Might have been a bit of advantage for contact by Simpson.
It's actually a third contact that we've seen from Simpson in this side. of the court. I think, you know, this is something that the umpires might pick up as well, and just ask her to slightly adapt in terms of that.
Instruction from Leighton. Another chance for Lindy Lombard. Hasn't Lindy Lombard been an absolute revelation Saturday and today? I think she's absolutely fantastic. Her experience, her maturity on the court is certainly there for all to see, I fancy.
Yeah, she definitely has been phenomenal, Kev. I mean, you can look at her, she's confident, she's composed, she really is not fazed by what's going on and just focusing on the task at hand.
At the same time, the South African defenders in Moweni, Vimbela and Mtembu doing a great job on Thwaites and Tippett, who are unchanged through the whole match so far. And although the Australians get up to 40 and they lead by 12, I really do think the back of the court for South Africa is working its socks off.
Bongimsomi, for me, on the attack, Kev, she is outplaying the Australian Diamonds on the centre passes, making herself available.
Potgieter with a handling error. He hopes that South Africa would have been able to score one there and have gone a begging, but picked up once again by Precious and Mtembu. South Africa is starting to recycle things very quickly, and they're forcing errors from the number one side in the world.
Yeah, Kev, I wanted to make the point that Potgieter actually responded with a deflection that came off her hands, but unfortunately seems to be slightly missing, you know, some crucial passes for her. I don't know if she's losing concentration or what's happening, but some crucial mishandling errors there.
I'll tell you what, South Africa know they've been in 2 tough matches. When you take on the number 1 and the number 3 team in the world within 4 days of each other, then you know what the game of international netball is about. But when you go to a World Cup, you come into the same intensity for a much longer periods of time. And this is something South African players at international level are going to have to get used to. In the meantime, getting used to not getting the goals is the combination of Thwaites and Tippett. And Australia lead by 13. And then once again, they've turned over the ball from the South Africans. And looking again to extend that lead. Don't forget, an 11-goal lead at half-time. And a chance here for Caitlin Thwaites. She hardly makes a mistake, does she?
No, certainly not. Not when Thwaites is concerned. I mean, she's just had such a lovely run on the goal. She's in front.
I almost thought that was an over a third pass, but not quite. And South Africa working it back again. Unfortunately, just hook pass in from from Bongimsomi. Gretel Tippett. Great grab from Caitlin Thwaites. It's almost unstoppable from this sort of position. We're up to 15. 2.5 minutes remaining, and another turnover in centre pass. Turnovers in centre pass came quite quickly back to back for the Australians at that point in time. Oh, there's plenty of space available there. So the umpire pulls the ball back towards the edge of the circle.
Phumzile Kev has had a couple of calls against her, and I think she's going to have to just be slightly cautious, because ultimately you need to be able to adapt to the umpire.
Yes, it's a very important point that you make.
Goalkeeper on the other side now, so this is the captain of the Aussie team.
Yes.
A great take by Shani Leighton, who was called towards the umpire John O'Brien for a little bit of a chat, and she gets herself out of position once again. Well, that should be a rather easy positioning for Bongimsomi, and Bongimsomi finds Lindy Lombard for another South African goal. South Africa just one away from the 30-goal mark. Don't forget, last time these two teams met was 68 to 43 in favour of the Australians, and I think potentially both sides are on track to match those scores of the opening match in the Zanzibar Quad Series. Another huge lunge forward from Gretel Tippett.
Oh, the crowd really...
Well, I'm not sure about that either. I know you've got to keep the shooter space, but this person is 1.9 meters taller. When you lunge forward like that, surely that's closer than the 3 foot anyway. So I'm not quite sure about that call myself. Nonetheless, lead by 16 now to the Australian side.
Advantage contact, wing defence.
Contact made by Gabby Simpson. Potgieter will pop from her, easily taken though by Shani Leighton. Looking again for Gabby Simpson, bit of punching from the Australians, but now they managed to open it up to April Brandley, highly experienced 26-year-old, playing in her second match in the Quad Series. Oh, lovely first time ball in, well read by Phumzile.
Yeah, she's definitely having an excellent run. And I think the partnership between Vimbela and Mawen, as well as Precious Mthembu with Berger, has really worked for the Spa Proteas defensively.
So South Africa to work to get the ball down the court. There's less than 30 seconds to play before we get to the end of the third quarter. Bongi Msomi, Erin Berger. Well, that's certainly contact from Shani Layton.
And the umpire just had words with her around those late tackles. So it's something that they're going to have to clean up rather soon.
Well, both goalkeepers have been given warning. I don't think there's been an official warning to Shani Layton, but certainly they're talking to from John O'Brien. So, South Africa with another goal. They're up to 30. They trail by 15. That is the end of the third quarter. So, a 4-goal win in the third quarter alone by the Australians to take the 11-goal cushion up to 15. With 15 minutes remaining, and I think South Africa had some good parts and some good moments during that quarter. But really, at the end of the day, the Australians, who've kept an unchanged lineup throughout the course of the match so far, still holding sway on the psychological front. They lead by 15. Changes are coming in from either one of the two coaches. Lisa Alexander yet to make a change in the entire match so far. Roma Plummer's been forced to make a change or two. She's looking to make more changes. In fact, Suzanne Petit is going to come in at goal attack. Petit, I do beg your pardon. And it is Paige Hadley who will come in as a wing attack. So there are a couple of changes from the Australian side as we get underway for the final quarter of this match. This is the final match, by the way, in South Africa in the Sanzia Quad Series before the series moves over to England. And England have two matches. They play Australia and New Zealand. South Africa play against New Zealand. As well as Lindy Lombard with the opening effort of the final quarter. Lombard makes it count for the South African Spa Proteas. They close the gap to 14. But you know, we've often spoken in the game of netball about a difference between the two sides being 15 or more going into the final quarter, and how virtually impossible it is for the side that's trailing to be able to win from that sort of position, as the first goal of the final quarter is struck there by Caitlin Thwaites.
I like how the Spa Proteas are opening up the court on the centre pass, just making things easier for Bongi Msomi or Lombard for that matter to come through.
So the two players on court at the moment are the two players that played in the starting lineup for Lisa Alexander against New Zealand in that 57-50 loss. I think for the New Zealanders, that is. So Australia with their full-strength side on court at the moment. Gretel Tippett and Caitlin Nevins sitting out the final quarter. And for South Africa, you can also see that there has been a change, because you've got Carla Mostert, who's back on the court in a goal defense position. And that's the only change that's been made by Norma Plummer. 47 goals to 32 in favour of the Australian side, and South Africa looking to grab their second goal of the final quarter. Lindy Lombard, it's a bit short, batted away by April Brandley. Obstruction by Erin Berger.
I mean, interesting point we spoke about earlier on, Kev, around Lindy Lombard was just around her goal shooting stats, and I think Andy also asked the question, and you know, my view is that it wasn't really about the percentile, but I think she's such an important playmaker for the Spa Proteas. You know, very intelligent, knows when to move around, and that's basically a skill or an attribute that is very rare. I mean, the goal shooting is very important, but I think she brings a little bit more flair to the Spa Proteas as far as the tackle is concerned.
Another opportunity here, and this time it is for Susan Pettit. Turnover in the possession for the Australians against South Africa. 2 goals away from the 50-goal mark. A mistake at the back then of the court, or the top of the court, from Caitlin Thwaites, and South Africa looking to drive early. This is Bongi Msomi. It's a lovely ball to Denise Botgida.
Oh, that's brilliant work there. Control, but unfortunately another missed opportunity, and that's the staggering difference between the Spa Proteas and the Australian shooters.
Nice hands on that occasion by Paige Hadley, the Australian substitute. Here's Hadley again. She goes from one side of the court to the other. Kim Ravalion has played the entire match so far. That's good hands from Thwaites over Carla Mostert, who makes a return to the court after picking up a blood injury in the second quarter. And the Australian side now just 1 goal away from hitting the 50-goal mark. Lindy Lombard, Berger. Trying to find a little bit of space from one side of the court to the other. It's not as quick, though, as from the Australian camp. From Somi once again. There seemed to be contact from Leighton. Picked up by umpire Gary Burgess.
Okay, there's a beautiful triangle set up there between Lombard, Berger, and Potgieter. But why play triangle when it's so easy to get it straight to Potgieter?
Well, that's exactly what they've done. Australia on the brink of grabbing their 50th goal of this match.
Contact goalkeeper.
Scored 57 against New Zealand on Saturday. Have the the Australian side.
It's clever play between Thwaites and Pettit. It's amazing how, you know, the Australian shooters just interchange and slot in so easy. There's a great understanding, I think, respect for each other as well. Beautiful play there from Msomi.
Well, it's certainly opening up a little as far as the South African side is concerned. Don't forget when South Africa played in Australia, they lost by 25 goals, 68 to 43. And the way the scores are at the moment, it seems unlikely that the score then will match the score with 111 goals coming in that match, because we're only on 85 at the moment, and there's 10 minutes remaining. Bongi Msomi with a little underhanded pass, and it's a good drive at the back from Shani Leighton, just putting off Lindy Lombard, but there's an error that comes in from the Australian camp. Umpire's timeout called by Gary Burgess. There's a throw in from the back of the court, and that's very good thinking from Lenise Potgieter, although she doesn't sink the shot. The final touch came from Potgieter as well. She dropped her shoulders a little in disappointment, and one can understand that.
Yeah, that is a little bit disappointing, and we spoke about taking the full benefit of the 3 seconds, and some of those goals do seem a little bit rushed.
So Australia once again with Revalion. Thwaites goes across the back of the court, just behind Phumza Maweni. Contact made by Carla Mostert on Suzanne Pettit.
Too soon. Hold time. Goalkeeper, you've been worn down there. For continual contact, that's after the whistle again. You're now suspended for 2 minutes.
Oh, there we go. South Africa down to 6 players, and that's a 2-minute suspension for Phumza Maweni. And yeah, if it wasn't a bad enough situation, she's in the sin bin, and that makes things very, very difficult indeed as far as these South African Sport Proteas are concerned. Down to 6 players, and what's worse, they only got 1 player inside the circle. And Carla Moster's got her work cut out for her in uncertain terms. Are you permitted then to take off a more of a centre court player and bring on another defensive player that can play inside the circle? Because that would be I would do that certainly if I was a coach.
Definitely, and I mean that's something that, you know, Netball can maybe advise us on and look at, because I know if a centre sent off, the wing attack or the wing defence for that matter automatically assume position for the centre pass. It's a very interesting point and something that we're definitely going to look into.
Well, South Africa are able to score goals though, and that's exactly what they have to do. Maybe it'll take the wind out of the sails of the South African side to a degree, because the recycling of the ball from the Australian one side has been absolutely brilliant so far in the match. Just makes it a lot easier when you've got 2 attacking players playing against 1 defensive side, and there's not much Carla Moster can do about that, is there?
Yeah.
They've got to cut the ball off earlier up the court, is what they have to do. Bongi Msomi has to become almost like an Aaron Berger type of much more defensive player from the top of the court between Msomi and Berger. Coming back to Carla Mostert, they have to try and cut the ball off and disrupt the play from the Australians before it even gets into the circle. Meantime, South Africa continue to score goals. It looks like we're going to have a 25-goal margin between these 2 sides. 17 goals at the moment. So hard work being done by Carla Mostert. Contact made on Caitlin Thwaites though, and this should be easy for Suzanne Pettit.
Yeah, what the Sport Proteas have done though on that front without Maweni is that Precious Mthembu has assumed the goal defence position right until he gets to the circle, so that's a good adjustment coming from the wing defender of the Sport Proteas.
That's a sort of adjustments that you have to make, and he's Potgieter as well. Keeps the ball in play. South Africa looking to grab more goals here. The difference is 18 at the moment. There can't be much time before the South African defender is allowed back onto the court here. Phumza Maweni, in fact, she's back on the court. South Africa back up to full strength. And now we'll see what happens in the final 7 minutes. Australia Already up to 56. Don't forget they scored 68 goals against South Africa when they met in Australia. 19 goals difference now between the two sides. Mostert to Bongi. Mostert again. This time is to Lindy Lombard. Not as much movement from the South Africans. The Australians' defence is absolutely impeccable at the moment.
Yeah, they're challenging and contesting every single ball, you know, that's being played by the Spark Proteas, making things difficult for them. I mean, that's the 10th pass in that third.
Elise Potgieter continues to knock in the ball. I think, for me personally, I think that Elise Potgieter's confidence is back in the final quarter. She took a little bit of a knock in confidence in the previous quarter, as there's a hand on the ball from Phumza Maweni, who's just done a 2-minute little rest on the sideline, and easy for Caitlin Thwaites. Difference is back up to 19 goals in favour of the Australian side. It was 15 goals at the end of the third quarter. Here come the Australian side once again.
I mean, that was well picked up there by Pettit. You know, she's right on the edge of the line, and that's how the Australian team plays. When they're all in attack, all 7 players in attack, and defensive, that's exactly what they do as well. Good work by Pettit.
Another centre pass that's been turned over by the Australians, looking ready to drive home that advantage. Pettit in front of Carla Mostert. Good play from the substitute. Experienced one. She hadn't played for 3.5 years before she came on to play against New Zealand on Saturday. Did a great performance as well.
Goal attack obstruction.
And the singing starts to erupt around the ICC in Durban with South Africa on the attack, and South Africa with Elise Potgieter score another. Going to have to just continue to convert every single centre pass, the South Africans.
Yeah, the Australians still keeping the intensity in the attack.
Goal defence, contact.
I mean, this is really encouraging to see, Kev. You know, they're making use of the space, playing the open player and just taking it easily and safe.
Carla Mostert not moving quickly enough away from in front of Suzanne Pettit, and gets blown for the contact. More of a foot than a hand really. Bongi Msomi now through to Lindy Lombard. Good movement from Potgieter. Quick hands here from Erin Berger. Good bounce pass as well.
Yeah, and an excellent roll-off there from Lindy Lombard to get away from the defenders.
South Africa up to 40. They still trail by 20 goals though.
Oh, that's a lucky one for the Spark Proteas. Hadley called for stepping, but unfortunately couldn't keep that ball afloat.
It's a little bit enthusiastic, I thought, from Erin Berger. I can understand what the situation was. The problem for Erin Berger right there was that she had to release the ball because she would have committed a foot fault, but or stepping error. Now they've been able to grab the ball back though with Erin Berger herself. Lombard. Caught in 2 minds. Caught for 3 seconds as well. Those 3 seconds from umpire Burgess are quite marginal.
Yeah. They're coming quick and very quickly for the Spark Proteas. But again, it's all about adapting to the umpire on court. Can't afford to have so many 3-second calls against you.
Oh, lovely positioning. She brings out the bounce pass across the circle. Does Caitlin Thwaites. She's there to receive the ball underneath the basket as well. Lovely switch play from the 30-year-old, playing in just her 2nd match in the Sanzias Court Series.
There was a bit of a risky one there to Precious Mthembu, but nonetheless, the Spark Proteas still holding their fort, and they're still pushing in the last minutes of this quarter.
There's no doubt trying to use home ground advantage. The South African Spark Proteas will want to finish inside that 25-goal difference that they suffered in defeat, 68-43, when they played in Australia. Again, contact made by Phumza Maweni. Opportunity for Caitlin Thwaites. Difference is 21. South Africa still on centre pass though. There seems to be some very tight legs out there. This has been a highly intense match between the #1 country in the world in netball and the world #5 in South Africa. Lombard scores another.
I thought there was a fantastic piece of play there between Somi and Lombard. Quick give and goes. An excellent finish as they get the ball turned over.
I That's about 6 breaks of the line, and Australia have been warned about that a couple of times. Certainly, you know, when you look at the score line, 20 goals ahead of the number 5 country in the world, and yet there's still things to work on. 6 breaking of the line in one match. Certainly something that Lisa Alexander will want to tidy up.
Offside.
That's a good offload there from Lindy Lombard. I really like the partnership between Potgieter and Lombard. I just think they've got such a great understanding for each other, and they know exactly where, you know, to take responsibility and when to share that responsibility with your partner.
More importantly, it's a break in the centre pass of the Australians and a chance to go back-to-back goals here from Lenny's Potgieter. And the score now is below the 20-goal mark as far as the difference between the two sides is concerned. Oh, lovely work by Karla Mostert. And the last touch came off Suzanne Pettit. And she's not happy. Must have been contact as well, because the throw was taken from the back of the court, and the substitute giving a few words to the umpire. I suppose when you're a veteran, you might feel you have the right to do that, but yeah, normally you've got to show some discipline. Berger. It's a good ball in towards Potgieter. Shani Layton at full stretch on that occasion. And will now be out of play. Now it's Brandley who's out of play. And Potgieter suddenly looking to end the match on an all-time high. That's 2 breaks of centre pass in a row for South Africa.
Yes, Smart Proteas really building up on this dying stages, and this is excellent performance.
Potgieter untouched inside the circle, makes it count for South Africa. The fans are going nuts here. One would think that South Africa were winning this one. They're still trailing by 16. It's a big call from the 25 that they lost by. Is that a handling or a no? It's not, from the new wing attack, Paige Hadley. There's only a couple of seconds remaining before we get to the end of this one. South Africa have the throw in. And it's not your ball, says the umpire. It doesn't make any difference anyway, because the hoot is gone. There's enough time to throw it in, because it is a penalty pass. And there it is, the end of the match, the end of the Sanzia squad series in South Africa, on South African soil. And the series will now move over to England, where 2 matches will take place. It will be England-New Zealand on the 2nd of February, then England-Australia, New Zealand-South Africa on the 5th of February. Let's get back to this one, though, and a really good performance, a gutsy performance from the South African Spar Proteas. They did have lapses at certain times, and certainly doing a lot better in this match than they've done in previous matches against the Australian side. And at the end of the day, a 16-goal difference between the two sides, a lot better than the 25-goal defeat that South Africa suffered in round 1 of this fabulous Sanzia quad series. 2 changes made by Lisa Alexander for the Australians, multiple changes made by Norma Plummer, one of them a blood injury for Karla Mostert, and some players that really put their hands up at international level. Some players perhaps that weren't quite at the same level to play for an hour at this massive, massive intensity when you're playing against the #1 country in the world. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be some happiness in the South African camp for the result that they've been able to bring out today. And yeah, I think South Africa at the end of the day, although they'll always have things to work on, will be happy, because the last 3 quarters have been pretty tight. 14-11, 14-10, and then 17-16. So many goals scored, 33 of them in the final quarter. But South Africa conceding 60 goals for the 2nd time in a row to the Australians, but doing better than the 43 goals that they'd scored the last time against the Australians. 3 goals better is the most amount of goals, 46, that South Africa have ever scored against their Australian counterparts. 34 defeats in 34 matches, though, for the South African Spar Proteas. Still looking for that elusive victory over the #1 side currently in the world. One must take nothing away from the Australian Diamond side, because they came out here, they played scintillating netball, and they really are going to be a side that will be well watched indeed, as these 2 sides build up in the Sanzia series for the Commonwealth Games that will be played in Melbourne in 2018. Hope you've enjoyed the action wherever you are watching around the world, and in South Africa on your World of Champions Super Sport. It's been a great performance from the Australians, a gutsy one from the Proteas, but the Australian side have gone 5 for 5 in the Sanzia series, and certainly good to win the championship for the first time.
Thank you very much to you at home for tuning in. Thank you to Simi Mdaga as well as Kevin Evans. We'll see you again in the next leg. From myself, Andy Mahamba, and the rest of the team,